Picture this with me for a second. You're sitting for that big exam. You know, the one, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. Maybe it's a bit cold, quiet, too quiet almost. And you're looking at these questions. They just feel strange. Even though you know this stuff from years on the job, your heart's pounding a bit, that clock on the wall just ticking away. Does any of that ring a bell? Or maybe is that the theme you're kind of picturing? Maybe even, dreading as you get ready for your own contractor exam? Just think about the hours you might have already sunk into studying. And maybe the money, too, right? On books or courses that, well, just didn't quite click, didn't bridge that gap between doing the work and passing the test. What if there was another way, a smarter way? More modern, flexible perhaps, something that moves past those, expensive, rigid boot camps or just try to memorize whole books blind. Today, that's our mission in this deep dive. We're exploring this modern approach to contractor exam prep, one designed to help pros like you pass, and pass with confidence. Before we get into the nuts and bolts, let me tell you about someone we talked to recently. Carlos. Now, Carlos, he's a really skilled contractor, 15 years in the field, knows his stuff inside and out, building code, finances, managing a job site. But here's the thing. He failed the Florida Business and Finance exam twice, using those, let's call them, traditional methods. He actually told us, I know this stuff on the job site, but in that exam room, it's like my mind just blanked.
And that experience Carlos had, it's incredibly common. We see this a lot in our research into how people learn for these kinds of tests. So many really competent, qualified people, they hit a wall with these licensing exams. And it's usually not because they don't know the trade, not at all. It's more often that they haven't been taught how to tackle the exam effectively. It's a strategy gap, you could say, not a knowledge gap.
That's a really important difference, isn't it? Because knowing the material is one thing, but being able to, access it and apply it under exam pressure, that's a whole different skill.
Exactly. And this really gets to the heart of something in educational psychology, the difference between passive learning and active learning. Traditional prep often leans really heavily on the passive side. Reading the book, listening to someone talk, highlighting pages, it feels like you're learning, but your brain isn't really doing the heavy lifting of retrieving and using the information. This can lead to what's sometimes called illusory fluency. You think you've got it down cold, but then the test comes and, well, it's not quite there.
Right. So it's like you're given this mountain of information and just told, learn this.
Mm-hmm.
Without much guidance on how to make it stick or even what's actually, most important for the test itself. That sounds like that information overload problem people mention.
Precisely. And that's where these more modern, data-informed methods really start to make sense. Our research consistently points to strategic engagement, not just brute force memorization. It involves principles like retrieval practice, spaced repetition, deliberate practice. Retrieval practice, for instance, is just actively pulling information out of your memory instead of just rereading. Think like flashcards, practice questions, trying to explain it to yourself. Every time you force your brain to retrieve it, the connection gets stronger.
So it's not just practicing, it's practicing the right way.
Yeah.
Targeted practice, that makes sense. Because you hear about people lugging stacks of books into the exam center.
Yeah.
Looks like they're preparing for battle, not a multiple choice test.
That's a common sight. And look, the reference books are vital, obviously. But the real skill isn't just having the books, it's knowing how to use them fast, efficiently. And that's where deliberate practice is key. It means you're not just passively reviewing, you're actively working on your weak spots, identifying them, focusing your study time there. It's about being strategic, knowing where you need to really dig in.
This really does sound like a total shift from just cramming everything in and hoping for the best. And one company we've seen applying these principles really effectively, especially for contractor licensing, is Lead Licensing Academy, LLA.
Yeah, connecting this back, what makes LLA stand out is really their structure. A lot of prep programs can be confusing. Too many tiers, bundles, you don't know what you need, or it's just one rigid program for everyone. LLA, they've really focused on creating these clear, separate pathways. They've sort of streamlined it so you can pick the level of support that actually fits you. It helps you focus on what matters, learning the material and passing that test.
That simplicity, yeah, that's definitely appealing. And it's not just like a random guess on their part, right? Their whole approach, it's built on looking at actual data, success patterns, what works, what doesn't. They developed something called the Sure Pass methodology based on this, which means, you don't have to go through the trial and error like Carlos did at first.
Exactly right. Their data shows pretty clearly that candidates who use a structured approach, one that includes practice and especially realistic exam simulation, they're just significantly more likely to pass first time. It's not just a story, it's based on actual performance data. Think of it like a flight simulator for a pilot. It builds that readiness through practice, yes, but also through feeling what the real conditions are like. Builds muscle memory for the test.
Okay, so knowing all that, how does LA actually put this into practice? What are their offerings for someone prepping for, let's say, the Florida Business and Finance exam?
Well, their core idea is that one size definitely does not fit all, which seems obvious, but isn't always how prep works. So they've got these three clear pathways. Lets you choose what matches your learning style and, how much you already know coming in. Some people need the full instruction, others just need that targeted practice we talked about.
Okay, let's walk through those options. It really shows how these learning ideas work in practice. First up, there's the LLA Exam Hub. This is basically their dedicated practice zone. It seems perfect if you feel pretty good about the material itself, but you need to sharpen those test-taking skills. Speed, strategy, that kind of thing. And what's in it? You get their practice pad that's got like over 750 questions you can do on time. Just reps, exposure. And then the key part maybe, the realistic, timed exam simulator. That's where you really prep for the pressure of the clock. So yeah, great for a self-starter or maybe an experienced contractor who just needs that final polish for the test day.
Then the second option is the full access course. Now, this is their complete teaching system. If you're someone who feels like, okay, I need to learn this stuff from the start, or you just learn best with structured, deep instruction, this is probably the way to go. It really embodies those active learning principles. Inside, you've got these in-depth, deep reads designed for understanding and remembering, not just glancing over. There are also audio learnings, which is great for studying on the go, different ways to take in the info, and you get the whole SurePass toolkit. That includes things like an exam success workbook, study plans to keep you on track, and something called the Gold Sheet, basically a cheat sheet of the really critical stuff. Oh, and they mentioned a SurePass AI coach is coming too, beta planned for 2026. That sounds like it'll offer even more personalized help.
Okay, and the third option, the one they recommend, the Course Plus Exam Hub Bundle. This sounds like the whole package, the ultimate end-to-end prep experience.
Yeah.
Probably best for anyone who just wants the most comprehensive route to passing first time. And it includes everything from both, right?
Yeah.
The full access course, the toolkit, plus the exam hub with the practice pad and the simulator. So it combines that deep learning with the really vital practice under pressure. Covers all the bases.
Yeah, exactly. Try to picture yourself in the exam, flipping through your reference books, but confidently, knowing where to find things quickly because you haven't just learned it, you've practiced accessing it again and again in a setup that feels like the real test. That level of readiness, that confidence when you walk in, that's really what LLA seems to be aiming for with this approach, building on those proven learning ideas.
Now let's circle back to Carlos. Remember, experienced guy, failed twice with the old methods. Well, story has a good ending. He switched over, chose LA's course plus exam hub bundle, and he passed. Next try. Within 85%, which is pretty impressive, he actually told us, and this is the direct quote, the difference was night and day. The full access course taught me the why behind the questions, and the exam hub got me ready for the test itself. Having both was the complete package I needed.
Carlos's story really sums it up, I think. It shows how this kind of structured but also flexible approach can work. LLA's model isn't just about throwing content at you. It's about giving you the right tools, the right pathway for you when you need them. It empowers you with choice, but backs it up with methods that, actually work based on evidence.
And something practical we should mention too. LLA seems very aware of the diversity in the construction field. They've apparently designed their materials using really clear language. And they even include specific English prep sheets in the full access course. Seems like they're trying to make sure it's accessible, supports everyone, regardless of their background or how they learn best, making complex stuff easier to grasp. That's good teaching.
Mm-hmm. And looking down the road a bit, while they're really focused on Florida business and finance right now, they do have bigger plans. By 2026, they're aiming to cover more Florida trades, HVAC, plumbing, electrical. And after that, the plan is to expand strategically into other states where there's high demand, basically applying this framework to simplify licensing more broadly.
So, for you listening, where do you start if you want to explore this more effective approach? The starting point is their website, lacademy.ai. That's LLACADEMY.ai. Go there, you can check out the three options we talked about, see which one feels like the right fit for you, for your situation. And they're doing a beta launch for 2025, which means there are some pretty significant savings right now. Just to recap, the Exam Hub is $199.50, and that gets you 12 months access. The full access course is $349 with perpetual access, and that recommended bundle is $549, also with 12 months on the Hub tools.
And maybe one key piece of advice, a strategic tip for you as you think about preparing: start sooner rather than later. It sounds simple, but it's crucial. Our research, LLA's data too, it all shows that successful candidates, the ones passing first time, they often start studying 3, 4, even 6 months before their exam date. That gives you time to really absorb the material properly, use those active learning methods, not just cram. The study plans and LLA's full access course are actually designed to help you pace it out like that.
Yeah, because honestly, every day you put off starting is potentially another day delaying your career advancement, right? Delaying that increased earning potential that comes with the license. So maybe a little challenge for our next deep dive. Visit lacademy.ai, explore those options, see what resonates, find the path that feels right for you, built on these solid principles. And speaking of our next deep dive, we're going to tackle a really practical question. What are the very first steps you should take even before you start hitting the books? We'll dig into understanding your exam's blueprint, how to pick the right reference books, and setting up a study schedule that works using some of the frameworks we touched on today. Until then, this has been the Deep Dive. We're focused on simplifying contractor exam prep, one insight and hopefully one success story like Carlos's at a time.